A big shout out to our knowledge partners, Meraki Advisors, a real estate research and advisory firm in India. Hi, Nita and Indra. Welcome to the RealtyLife podcast. I'm super excited to have both of you here.
Same.
Because I want you guys to be the first architects to be on the podcast. The industry attests to the kind of fabulous work that you do. But I think even bigger than that is the kind of human beings you are, which is why I wanted you guys to be the first ones. Just to start off the podcast, I wanted to understand why architecture? Why did both of you want to become architects?
Okay, if I have to go first. So when I look back, my family has a background in cinemas. So if I talk about my father's side of the family, in fact, they have completed 100 years in cinema. So cinema, a form of art, has always been a part of my life. I grew up in that, cinema. Yeah. And from my mother's side of the family, they were into jewelry designing and a lot of art, within the family, artists and all that. So that is the kind of influence I had when growing up. And art seemed like a natural progression, to get into.
Yeah.
And science is something which I was interested in. So both putting that together, I feel architecture was the perfect thing to do. And I love it as a profession. I think it was the right choice.
Lovely. And what about you?
See, in my case, it was very simple. I didn't have to have any big influences. My mother, when she was giving her thesis in the fifth year of architecture, was already in her stomach.
Okay.
So for me, architecture started even before I got out of the womb. So that way, I was like, Abhimanyu is what I can say.
You learned insights.
So I got out, and then from my very childhood, I've been seeing both my parents were architects, and they had a fantastic practice from Hubli, and they were working all over the country.
Wow.
And I would always be running around, being part of all the discussions. Then I was my dad's driver for a very long time. So, I learned on the job. So and the beauty of this profession is that you get to learn a lot of things. The kind of people you meet, the kind of places you travel to is phenomenal. And I think there is nothing probably on the planet which is as exciting a profession as architecture can be.
It is definitely quite an investment. It's like medicine that you spend so many years studying it and...
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But medicine confines you, whereas I feel architecture takes you places.
Yeah. There's so much creativity in it, while there is science in it, it's a good blend, I feel.
Exactly.
You said your parents were also architects. How did the whole Kembhavi Architectural Foundation?
See, we are a family of architects. So my parents started the company in 1974, the year I was born. And so we were having a good practice out of Hubli, and as I said, we were working in different parts of the country. And after we finished our architecture, we did work a little with other architects, but after that it was more into our firm. So the advantage of working in our firm is that we got a lot of exposure from different places, and so it was like the first 10 years of our practice, we were both in Hubli. And at that point of time, my brother also studied his architecture and project management, and he returned from the US and was about to get married to another architect. So we felt that 6 in the family. So we felt it was pointless to have everybody sitting in one place. So that's when we both
also that's the time when we actually landed with a mega project in Bangalore.
Okay,
that's the Suryanagar township you hear about. It's a good 300-acre project.
Oh, wow.
So we were already working, having projects in Bangalore, but we used to keep visiting. But then there was a time when we felt it's time to move on. And then we both decided, it's a good 15 years, 16 years now, then we decided set up an office in Bangalore. And that's where we started our journey.
So we started our journey, our office was still not ready.
Yeah.
And the moment we came in, we were blessed that way that, we could, because of our experience in certain type of projects, we got a lot of projects and we started working out, building a team. And from then on, it has been a very exciting journey.
That is exactly the time. I just a few days before we moved to Bangalore was the break we got in Chennai. And that's one of our large, some of our biggest projects are out of Chennai as well.
Now you work out of all states, right?
All states,
in India.
Kerala, Hyderabad, and the
North, everywhere.
North.
We are almost everywhere.
What was the biggest challenge of, setting up a business in Bangalore?
See, the biggest challenge for us is our parents had created a name, they had created a legacy. And we both were, coming out and we had to build it up in Bangalore. And it was a very, it was like there was definitely a huge amount of performance anxiety that we had. But we are happy to say that our parents were proud of us after the first 5 years. So that was a big relief to both of us.
And even the kind of experiences we had working in a firm like we did, and then coming back and setting up here, I feel the experiences are much more varied experiences in different kind of projects is what we already had.
Okay.
That way we were very lucky with just 10 years of working into a firm and getting a first-hand experience of all large, small, and institutional, whatever came our way.
Projects, yeah.
Projects. So that was a lovely mix of projects is what I would say. That definitely helped us, get going. And then somehow the real estate wave just swept and luckily...
Bangalore became a hub for it.
Yeah. So, yeah.
So from my understanding, you guys do a residential, commercial, different. You have a huge range of projects that you guys do. You also do homes. If you can just take us through like 3 or 4 projects that are really notable, big things in your career, what would they be?
See, interestingly, like I just mentioned, we have projects in every sector. We are doing a lot of work in transport as well. Be it railway stations, we have done bus stands, the airport. So exciting projects happening there in hospitality, institutions. We have been, working closely with a lot of large institutions. Real estate is a large chunk. But then, on the other hand, we have lovely, we are right now working on some couple of super-sized luxury homes as well.
Oh, wow.
So I would say like we never got stuck to any one kind of a project.
Category.
One category. That is one thing I feel very proud about my firm is that we have that kind of a portfolio. You name it and I think
dabbled in that space.
We have dabbled in it.
In fact, one of the real estate developers who saw our portfolio for the first time told us once that after we met him next that, he saw our portfolio and he was impressed because he said till then they were only doing residential.
Okay.
And after seeing the diversity, he felt that why not they be diverse, and they got into warehousing, they got into hospitality, they got into retail spaces, commercial spaces, etc. So that way, I think the main advantage that we get is cross-learning. So we learn a lot of things from different projects. We learn a lot of dimensions from different projects. So when we cross-apply those learnings, I feel that is where our efficiency has come in, where we are able to create more meaningful value to the projects.
Lovely. Just, for the audience who doesn't know you guys, what do each of you do in the firm? I'm guessing both of you do a lot of things together also, but if I had to distinctly say this is what each one contributes, what would it be?
Yeah, Lon, the good part is I collect the money, she spends the money.
Running in the office.
Spends the money in the sense like dealing with clients and contracts is my thing. Handling the administration, payouts and other things are Nita's job.
Okay.
In terms of a business angle.
Yeah.
In terms of working, yes, I can say that, I would give her credit that she does 70% of the job, I do 30% of the job. Because I do have a lot of travel too involved.
Okay.
And I can definitely say that she is my biggest support system in the whole office. And together I think we are a cohesive force.
See, when you talk about work, the best part about it is that we, things fit in perfectly fine. There are things which he's too good at. I don't want to get into it.
Okay.
Some things which I can manage very well. And I feel that's a fantastic balance which we have,
What are these things? Is someone better at interior? Is someone better at structural stuff? As architects, is there anything like that?
No. See, as far as
it's very seamless the way we work actually. Like for example, I've cited this earlier as well. I mean, someone asking us, how does your firm work? I mean, is there a horizontal division or a vertical division? I mean, there are firms when there's a hierarchy. But with us, it's very fluid. It works like I can take up what he's doing seamlessly. He can take over a project and maybe take it forward seamlessly. Our thoughts are very much in sync.
Wow.
So it's not very complicated. And like I was just mentioning to you, maybe in certain things we just don't get along. But as far as projects are concerned and what we have to say about it, like we have the exact same thoughts. And this has happened to us where a client's, one of our clients asked us me an opinion about something, or him maybe. And then I just walk in. And I have the exact same opinion about it. So thankfully,
must be bizarre for the client.
It is.
Yeah, it is. So it's not like we've thought about our answers, but that's how we work. So I feel the best part is we work seamlessly. So it can,
So and for us, it's a passion-driven line.
Yeah.
So I think we're equally passionate about the job. So finally, it's like we are extremely involved in the scale and the numbers of projects that we handle. It has to be a collaborative effort, not only just between us, but between our whole team.
Okay.
So there is a lot of collaboration, lot of involvement, lot of brainstorming that goes across everything.
And that way, I feel we have a very similar energy, which we are able to, pass it on to our teams as well.
Teams, so
very important. We have a decent sized team, and I feel that all of us, our energies are in sync. We work at a certain speed. And the whole the design process, be it anything.
You said design process. I actually want to ask you, I mean, every architect, of course, has their own approach and process to a project. What do you guys start off with when you get a project? Or if you want a project and you want to get it? How does
See,
it?
there are various aspects when you talk about a design, See, firstly, we have to, it could be economical, it could be aspirations of a client, it could be the site, it could be the requirements, what we need to put in, it could be the numbers as well. I mean, quite a few projects have the numbers which play the, large role. So keeping all that in mind, and then you have this creative thing, we're doing architecture,
Yeah.
So that is where we come in. Where we beautifully put in all this together and arrive at something which is interesting and act for that particular site, for that particular person.
Yeah, and I mean, you have to manage expectations.
Expectations,
also, right?
aspirations and expectations.
See, it is not very difficult because what happens is that, see, for us, what we look at is we try to understand the project in totality. We try to understand the client in totality. We understand the ecosystem, the market, the cultures, the finance, the climate. We understand all of it. So, once you study everything, once you're, like on the top of the game, we have seen it's not very hard for us to convince our clients. So, it's most of our cases, it's like the first presentation and I think we're almost there and it's like we move ahead from that point with some minor changes. It's never been that, go forth, come back, stuff like that. So, I feel like a lot of the main thing in what we tell all youngsters is that you should be very strong in understanding a subject and one should gear up oneself for that.
And with the kind of experience we have, there are times when we guide the client. There are times when our opinions are taken as to what would work.
They probably come with an empty canvas and say, okay, from here,
and then yesterday, we were deliberating on our interesting site. Yeah. And in fact, the discussion was, what can we do here? What will be best for that site?
Okay.
What should be viable for him? What should be interesting? So those are the kind of discussions we are having. It's no longer where someone comes in. Of course, factors like Vastu and maybe if we have to get the numbers right, then we have to stick to it.
We're still in India.
Yes, we are still in India, but some things have to work. It has to be viable. Yeah. But there are projects like this as well, which we are always excited for, where you can brainstorm and,
it's an empty canvas, you're starting everything from scratch.
Yes. That's I think that comes with experience. When you can give an opinion which will work.
Of course. I mean, 16 years is quite a bit. And I think 5 years before that. So
10 years
before
that. So
oh, wow.
That's a lot of
straight out of architecture college, you went into work.
Literally work, married and started
life.
We were also involved in construction. So what happened is that we started a construction company where, we are physically working on the projects. So that knowledge is something which has helped us, understand the challenges faced by a workman on site or a contractor. So, when we design, we align and even try to make complex things simplified. So that is what, the clients do appreciate. And understand that, okay, this is making my work easier. It looks good, but it's not complicated. It's not expensive.
So that's when, we did turnkey projects. Because initially we felt we had lovely concepts, but, for it to actually happen, you need some good team on board. That's when we went into contracts where we took it up as a turnkey project. And we did some very interesting works, some ashrams and, we...
Wow, you've really been seen the entire range.
Yes.
So
I mean, an ashram, I think, is a great thing to have on a portfolio.
We did ashrams, we did super affordable housing, we did institutes, we did commercial buildings, we did residential, we did banks, you name it, we did it. I think in 3 years, I think we are both workaholics. So in 3 years, I think as contractors, we completed more than 45 projects.
Wow.
And when you talk about affordable, I mean, this is a good 20 years ago. We were doing this housing for absolute affordable housing. In fact, he took up contracts of those as well, where each house was just 25,000 rupees each. Imagine the number of
super affordable.
Yeah. What was that?
Ashraya
housing. So they were like, we worked on 50 acres, 100 acres, and where the cost of a project had to be limited to 25,000. So every brick that went in mattered. How you put that slab, what was the possibility of expanding it. Every single thing had to be put in place.
So you've seen both sides. You've seen super luxury homes. You've seen super affordable
yes.
Super luxury to an extent where I would say like
only the windows will cost 20 crores.
Yes.
Things like
the windows of a house is costing 20 crores. So that's the other
We would love to see that.
I think that's the thing about architecture, It's so interesting. It kind of, you're able to take whatever that comes your way. You could design maybe even a nuclear reactor if someone asks you to.
Yeah.
I know that is the kind of field this is.
Oh, lovely. We talked about super luxury homes, right? How do you kind of keep the balance between aesthetic and function? A huge question. Everyone thinks about it, but
See, as we said, the whole point is that once you create along a technologically solid foundation,
okay.
then there is no gap between both. So form and fusion actually symbiotically go together. So we cannot look at both in isolation. So once you're technologically strong, like I'll tell you about Nita, she was working on a very complex airport terminal. And the amount of time she took to design the project was 10 minutes. So I'm not exaggerating. I'm not exaggerating.
To get the concept.
Concept right. But the first concept sketch had all the room sizes which were proportionate. They had all the back-end spaces which were proportionate. They had all the F&B spaces which were proportionate.
Okay.
So, the sketch had a lot of logic even in the first stroke. That was because of the strong technological foundation.
Okay.
So this is a key to, like making form and function a symbiotic whole.
Okay. Oh, lovely. I mean, this is something that everyone struggles with, right? Like if you're making a home and a client comes with certain expectations, then how do you kind of convince them? Saying, fine, we get the aesthetic part of it, but it makes...
See, the whole point is we should try to raise the expectation bar, and we would always like to have clients with very high expectations. The problem in India is reverse. A lot of people want us to underperform, cut down, simplify. Those are the things which pull us down. But when a client comes with expectations, I think that is something which
excites us.
Doesn't want us to sleep also.
Oh, wow. I mean, you guys are already working so many hours a day, so sleep is really out of the question. You're an artist. What do you think you bring to the table? A little extra in this space.
See, quite a bit of what we do may not involve, that flow of, art into architecture.
Yeah.
But luckily, I'm blessed, I would say, that we did work on a couple of projects where I feel I was working on a series in my art. I mean, I was doing a couple of
fine art,
in my fine art, which I could reflect, For example, we did a project for Mata Amritanandmayi.
Okay.
And the concept was of Samudra Manthan.
Okay.
This was happening during COVID. So we worked for a good 2 months on it. Very intense study was done into the philosophy, the mythology and everything.
Yeah.
So the moment I finished that design, I mean, it was on the design table. When I came back home and I did a series on Samudra Manthan in art.
In art.
Then there was this another project which we worked, Laughter City for a laughter guru. So it has those concentric circles and all that. So while I worked on that project, I had my series on, the meditative circles. I have that. So I feel
it's tying into each other.
It is tying into each other. So it does flow into, because that is the space you're in. There's art happening, there's architecture happening. And, and what you're surrounded by, that definitely influences the art as well as architecture. I feel it goes hand in hand.
Other than work in art, where else do both of you find the inspiration? Because you constantly have to be creative. This job needs you to be thinking of new things all the time. So
everything is creative. As when we look at it, like for example, like travel is something which influences us to a great deal. So you pick up a lot from travel. Travel is one of the biggest influencers on the planet. The second thing we appreciate is music. We appreciate art.
Food.
We appreciate food, and and everything has a creative background to it. So once you start appreciating the quality of good things in life, I think automatically it impacts our work too.
Yeah. Because you have to take in, you have to just soak in.
Yeah.
That is about getting inspired, is about soaking in what you see. So travel and art and, all that, definitely music, it kind of...
Lovely.
Yeah.
I mean, clearly we can tell both of you share some interests here.
See, in fact, I feel when I'm designing, I need to have music playing.
Okay.
My thoughts are better. I have to have that music and
space and that
absolutely.
zone. Yeah.
And same is the case with art. Music has to be there. So I think that's how we, it's...
I mean, you said travel and the whole new wave of sustainability is going over everywhere. I mean, how do you guys what is the role of sustainability in your practice?
See, I'll tell you, I'll answer this. See, probably before this sustainability became a keyword, we come from a hot and dry region, that is Hubli.
Okay.
So, climate was always a very strong concern with us. And my mom did her solar passive architecture. That's, I think, probably one of the earliest and maybe one of the very few even today, did a solar passive architecture from IIT Powai. And we worked a lot under her. She was our guru in sustainability. So before it became a keyword, I think around 35 years ago or 25, 28 years ago, we did the first USGBC gold-rated green building in India.
Oh, wow.
At 1/3 the cost of any other green building anywhere in the world. So our whole modus operandi was to prove that green buildings are not expensive, which people perceive, but it can be done at a cost which is much less than a regular building. And we worked on a lot of formats in terms of sustainability, green buildings, traditional construction practices. We also looked at, even today we look at, like people talk about glass being a non-green material. But, it's not, there's nothing which is green or non-green. It's the sensitive usage of every material which makes it green or non-green. Because glass is something which binds an internal space to the outside.
Yeah.
It thins the line between inside and outside. So the whole point is that you need to have that, because we need to be connected to the biorhythms of the sun. And if we don't have it, where is the sustainability? You just can't do water management and keep our life unsustainable.
It can't be superficial.
So the whole point is orienting the glass in the right way, where it doesn't absorb heat, using the right kind of glass, creating a landscape barrier around it. Connecting a human being to biorhythms is the first part where you get human into the outside space. And then, of course, water conservation, energy conservation, these are all part of the game. I think that a lot has been done and a lot more is happening. And the Western definition of sustainability and the Indian definition of sustainability is extremely different.
I'm so glad you brought
they
it
are
up.
absolutely, they are gluttons of energy. And we have always been, frugal with our usage of any resources and energy, probably because we were ruled by somebody else. And that trend has continued. So even a building which we don't call sustainable in India is, I think, 10 times more sustainable with anything in the West. And whatever we are at 1/10, we are still trying to get it down. So I feel slowly that India will have a great role to play in the journey of sustainability.
I mean, we've been whitewashed, of course, saying they are more sustainable. They made larger advancements.
Absolutely not.
If you go back into our villages and if you look at the older houses, look, that's the right example of sustainability. The way there were stone walls, there were overhangs,
The structure of the house also helped.
They were cooler than, regular houses. So if you look at it, our ancestors were the most, we can learn a lot from there.
Yes.
We could get that into our...
Does that kind of influence the kind of work that you do? Do you pick up on things and bring it back?
Absolutely. I'll tell you, history is one of the greatest influencers. So that's why we make it a point, apart from visiting the modern buildings or other places, we definitely try to integrate a historical tour and places like that, because that influences us too much. It shows the scale of ambition. You go to ancient Rome, you go to the temples of Tamil Nadu, you go to the mosques in Middle East, the scale, the challenges, how they have tackled them, the kind of construction with ancient technology, building mega domes, with ancient technology cooling down their homes. There have been fabulous things that have happened in the past.
And there's so much to learn.
And these are not things that we can, neglect and be successful. We have to respect them and worship them.
True. History does play. It kind of tells you what the future is also going to be.
Exactly.
Do you see that cycle happening, though, of the old coming back?
See, I will put it this way. We don't want necessarily the old to come back.
Okay.
But, we want the next era to always feel that what we do today should come back. So it's very important trying to be responsible in what we do. See, the whole challenge today is the Instagram era, or Pinterest era, where everybody wants to rip off each other or take things or, simplify stuff. Or, pure economic driven buildings, which people think are going to be the next thing. But that's not what works. Today, if you look at a city which was built out of dust, is Dubai. And today it's the most aspirational city on the planet. Why? Because the ambition was to create something beautiful. So, it is something which had a vision which was sustainable. They made more money than the rest of the world.
True.
And they spent more money on it. They spent more passion on it. But if we do only buildings looking at saying that, okay, what am I getting out of it only project-wise, and not contributing yourself to the ecosystem, that is where a society declines.
Interesting way to look at it. Interesting way to look at Bangalore.
Absolutely.
Definitely needs.
So it doesn't take much more money. It just takes a little more interest, little more passion to actually make this building stand out.
Think at a larger scale.
Yes, because the city is a canvas, and you have to appreciate or reject or criticize a city. So I feel particularly with real estate, and I think this platform is for real estate, I think everyone has to be more sensitive than they are today. I feel it's absolutely lacking.
And there's so many players, right, who are involved. That brings me to the question, what is the importance of collaboration? And of course, architects work with a host of other stakeholders. What advice would you say works in terms of collaboration?
See, when it comes to collaboration, it could be in so many factors. Of course, we do have the structural consultants, but there are times when you want some specialized services. It could be lighting. And lighting, again, it's a there are a whole gamut of things there. Now we're talking about light mapping and things like that. Then there is, of course, when it's a project close to the airport, we are doing a couple of them. We are bringing in acoustical consultants to work with the sound, the vibration and things like that. Then collaboration with respect to art. See, when you're talking about what influences a project, like the project we are doing in Kerala for the Cochin International Airport, there is a lot of art that is involved into it. And we are taking in a lot of, things about Kerala. It could be the boathouse of Kerala, it could be, the traditional structure or whatever. But then we have we collaborate with artists, and they are also a very important part of our, whole process. And
how do you balance it out? Because there's so many stakeholders, right?
That is where I think we are the Surtadhar of a project. We tie in so many people. I mean, I'm just naming a few. There are many more to it.
I'm sure.
So we are the guys who actually put all of that together to make a successful project. So a lot of our job is, the design is a part of it, but the administration, the coordination the managing a project is a very big task, which we as architects, we are only known for the design of it. But actually, getting it in place, there's a lot that goes into it.
Now, all the other industries are talking about the role of tech and its impact. What does it mean in the architectural field?
See, tech is going to define us. We cannot be unreal about it. And we still are not even perceiving the level of disruption that's yet to come. So it's probably, we will soon be in a phase where AI will play a great role, contrary to a lot of people's expectations. A lot of things, whether it's from design, whether it's from structures, whether it's from execution, to, technology. Like today, if you see, car industry is being taken over by the tech industry. The automobile sector is moving to tech. Tesla is the most sought after car today. So there has been a huge disruption in the mechanical industry, the automobile industry. So tech will, and everybody's trying to catch up with them. So tech is disrupting things very fast. The disruption levels are going to increase day by day. We'll probably soon have a tech player coming in and becoming the biggest real estate player on the planet, for all you know. So it's extremely important and imperative that everyone starts understanding tech. At least may not be studying tech, but understanding tech, keeping in pace with tech, to be there and not lose out.
And to kind of plug in, right? Like in architecture, what are the aspects that you feel could get?
Parametrics. So everything is moving to parametrics today. What are parametrics? Parametrics are function parametrics, are form parametrics, are climate parametrics, are economics. Parametrics are the soil beneath you, the wind which is flowing across, the earthquake zones. So, once you feed in all the parametrics, probably a computing machine will be strong enough to understand these parametrics, read them, interpret them in multiple ways, and find ways to execute them at the simplest possible way in the shortest possible time. So, this is where parametrics come into picture. So the whole idea is today we use parametrics not as a tool, we use parametrics as a perception in our mind. So any project that a person executes or a person designs, both from the execution side, a real estate player or an architect who is designing a space, we are all working with these parametrics. But the moment these parametrics go into a computing program where the slight emotional component is reduced, probably it comes more clean. So this is more informed.
Also, parametrics can be information which we'll have to.
So we always think that we are able to be on top of the information and top of the computing game, but we are not realizing the machine is becoming smart enough.
Because it's learning from us.
That it is going way ahead of us. Like today, if you see the best chess player on the planet is a computer. It's no longer a human being, and best by far with beyond comparison. So when we can see that happening, and if we are not true to ourselves that it could happen to us, and we are not adaptable to change, I'm sure we'll not survive in the future. But if we are going to balance ourselves with it, align with this change, that is where we'll be on top of the game.
What are the cons though of having tech in architecture?
Absolutely, we should never look at any development as a con. We should always look at alignment with the development of a tech, rather than trying to resist the flow. And there is always the human intervention is the emotional part, which we can always lend to a play. Design thinking, creativity. There are things that we can start thinking from a differential, from what is beyond parametrics.
Yeah.
So that is where probably a creative process comes in.
Just like fact and emotion. Fact comes through from the tech, and emotion comes through from the person
Exactly.
who's executing it.
Exactly. So, there are a lot of things I feel which will happen. There will be a lot of disruptions, a lot of change. There are a lot of alignment, rethinking, reskilling. Everything is going to be very, very important.
And it will be much faster than it was in the past. I mean, reskilling we did do, but now I think it will be at a much faster pace. We'll have to reskill and,
Yes.
We've been talking about reskilling. It brings you to how the pandemic, has changed how we live. How has it changed the field of architecture?
See,
at least when we look at spaces, they're getting larger. I mean, if I talk only about homes, what we were designing before the pandemic and after, be it an apartment, be it a home, everything has gone much larger in size.
Oh, wow.
I don't know what is it that people feel. I mean, living indoors has kind of, gotten that idea of more comfortable.
We need more space.
Yeah. From that. And then,
See, basically, I feel it's about the experiences. Probably what COVID, actually, we had a lot of webinars during COVID and we all experts spoke a lot of things, none of which are real today and none of which have happened today. But
we've already moved on.
Yes, but what has happened?
have remained,
What has happened today is probably somewhere in the subconsciousness, people have realized their mortality. And they have not taken life for granted. So the difference that we see today in client expectations or a consumer expectation, I'll not really call it client, consumer in every spectrum, is that they want their life to be more experiential. So, whether it's food, whether it's travel, whether it is hospitality, whether it's real estate, their own life, the quality of a car. So people want it all.
Everywhere
and people are
upgrade.
opening up their...
You see that, correct?
That's
Yes.
true.
Even from point of travel, you see the number of people traveling.
Yes.
And
Similarly,
the different types of travel now they're getting exposed to is
Absolutely.
different.
So the whole idea after COVID is especially is not to be people who are just saving money, but how to enhance the quality of life, make it more experiential and more adventurous, more interesting.
Oh, lovely. And this is all classes of society, I guess.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So in every sector, we see that upgrade. So that's a big change that I feel COVID has gotten.
You've done projects all across the country. How does it change, from state to state, the kind of clients or your experiences?
See, it is very, very interesting. So, in fact, we have had the privilege of doing some projects even outside the country, which we are working on. But one thing is common across all is that everyone wants to have something nice. What we see in a smaller town today or, a smaller place which is not as evolved. See, sometimes we see a comfort as set in places like Bangalore, etc., where people are very, very confident. Now, we are talking mainly from a real estate place, where people are confident, okay, we do this, it sells. And why do we need to do more? But when you go outside, you're seeing aspirations. You're seeing people who want to do much more. They want to be seen. They want to create.
Better product.
Yes.
Something different.
Exactly. So, the hunger of doing something more is much higher.
Yeah.
So, this is what we see outside.
See, numbers do play a role. But to what extent? I mean, there are people who want to now put that extra,
go that extra mile. Yeah.
To give a better product.
Which is the best state so far to have?
No, we cannot say that. It's not a state. Every state is good. People are good everywhere. People are bad everywhere. It is all about. It's all about.
It's a mixed thing. It again depends on person to person.
Yeah.
I would not say good or bad, but everyone has a certain way of a point of view, a perspective to a project. So based on that, maybe some projects we are able to give that little more what we want to give.
Yeah.
There are things we want to do. It's always the case with every project. Whatever comes our way, there are times when we go a little too far also maybe to make it better, more interesting. But it depends on who's across the table, from you.
And how he's taking
it. Does he want to do that extra thing? Or he feels this is more than enough. I don't want to do anything more than that.
So all we can say is growth comes out when you get out of your comfort condition.
Yeah, there's no formula.
Yes. So, you have to step out of your comfort. For a person who is young, he doesn't have the experience. Once a person is experienced, he doesn't want to try out. So retaining a childlike energy and trying to retain a childlike energy till the end of your career
Enthusiasm.
or end of your life is extremely critical.
Interesting. I mean, it's almost like you're working to gain that experience, but the experience is actually stunting your growth.
Actually, that we see happening with
a lot of people. So, they get comfortable.
And they don't want to now experiment at all. The experience is kind of holding them from experimentation.
But like you said, cities think that, okay, this is a formula and it could work.
So I think it is like, we have always been India has always been comfortable in formulas.
Yeah.
Vastu, comfortable in what we are doing, comfortable in sizing, comfortable in numbers, product, no, why do we do more, this is as it is going to sell.
Yeah.
So that comfort is something which I feel stunts growth over a long term. It can give you immediate gratification, but in a longer play, sustaining, reinventing, experimenting out, doing things, playing out of the model are what lead to the biggest growth. And I'm sure, without naming anybody, you have seen a lot of real estate developers. The people who have been developing are growing the fastest. The people who are reinventing are still growing the fastest. So moving beyond a limited, stunted, microscopic vision of a project to a macroscopic journey of your life is more critical.
Wow. That's a great way of putting it. And it kind of ties back into what you're saying, is that you can't just have numbers drive everything. You have to contribute to how the city would look. And
see, numbers are paramount, and numbers should not be neglected. Numbers should be beautified, enhanced, and wrapped in a better mold. Without compromising on numbers, it's all about application of heart, mind and passion, which can make the numbers even more beautiful without diluting any of your financial integrity in terms of profitability, etc.
Okay. If I had to ask both of you, give me one small anecdote or story that really talks about, the rewarding aspects of being an architect.
See, it is, we can say it is extremely rewarding. A lot of times we see that, like projects are built, sometimes the builder may be forgotten, but not an architect. A lot of times. And
there's a legacy, there's a trail of...
so,
and architecture is something, it remains.
Yes.
It's a permanent structure we are creating,
Yes.
So that is something about this profession. We have that standing as a...
See, like today, when we look at our people we worship, architects like Zaha Hadid, Frank Gehry, Sir Norman Foster, Daniel Levinsky, these are all great names, and they are known worldwide. Like if I suddenly ask you who is the top developer of probably Japan, which is not in the limelight, it may not come to your mind, but we can straight away say Tada Ando. So so it is these are things that do happen because we are people crafting spaces.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of things that happen to it, and we are creating an era. So like for example, the Egyptians built pyramids.
True.
They crafted entire story of Egypt, which is relevant today. It was built during BC.
It's the identity of that place. Yeah.
Or you look at the Renaissance period of Europe, which still calls in tourists every day to go take, I think, the maximum number of pictures all around.
Example of Bilbao. The city was known because of that structure there, the Bilbao Museum. Till then, no one knew about that place, correct?
Yeah.
So it's what that city got an identity because it's the kind of structure that was created by the architect.
So it's really amazing to drive around the city and actually...
See, Bilbao was an industrial town. Nobody knew about it except the people who were going there to do business. When Frank Gehry designed the Guggenheim Museum, it became the highest revenue earner from tourism across the world.
Oh, wow.
So one building changed the destiny of the
that
city.
Yeah, it just took one architect, one building to change it.
Yes, so that way it's a very gratifying profession. Okay. The biggest gratification that you feel is when you see your sketch turn to reality.
Oh yeah.
So this is something that we have.
And you see what you visualized, that sketch of yours is actually
coming to life,
holding true and right there.
Yeah.
And the relationships, probably what happens is the relationship with any other professional is pretty short. But the relationship between an architect and a client is extremely intense. And we have seen that, from my dad's time to our time, like, clients have ended up becoming family friends for life.
I mean, I think you're the examples. Yeah.
Exactly.
We consider you family.
Exactly. Yeah. So this is where, the whole change comes in. So the kind of relationships that we are building across the journey makes it even more beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, there are times I forget that my client was, my friend was a client. Because we remain, as friends.
Yeah. Yes. This transitions perfectly into, me asking you about your personal lives.
Okay.
How do you guys manage this whole, because you're working together, you're going home together, how do you manage the whole dynamic?
We'll have to ask our son about it. We should not.
No, it's interesting. See, because one thing what happens is like, probably marriages don't get boring. First thing is that. Because, we are in sync with everything. We have a lot more to discuss.
So you have a partner at work, and in a way it helps, because we are facing the same issues. Maybe the understanding is better. Having a
Okay.
partner in the same, I mean, people say, I can't imagine, how do you even do it,
Yeah,
work together.
same person. Yeah.
Weekend also with some client asked him, meet us on Sunday for dinner. No, I have to get out with my family. What, the whole week you're with the family, even the Sunday? But for us, like, I was like,
Yeah, but the time is different.
the time is different. So I feel we can handle pressure better. I have someone to fall back on,
Yeah.
Same with him.
But it's very easy because our discussion is seamless, and by God's grace, we are blessed with more or less the same tastes.
Yeah.
Okay.
See, even when
Yeah,
we
so-
travel, the way we look around, luckily having an architect partner goes a long way.
Similar. Yeah.
You look around, the way we travel is very different. I feel the structures play a very important role.
Yeah.
What we see, because we have
Your
studied
interests are different.
Interests are different. So that way we have that common thing that binds us together.
How has becoming parents changed the way you guys do business? Has it changed? I'm sure your son would disagree from what I know. But
No. Actually speaking, what I feel we always cast an impression on the next generation.
Yeah.
Whether it's not just our biological children, but we'll say that people who work with us. And a lot of people who cast a similar shadow on us. So the whole thing is what keeps a person alive in life. End of the day, you have good and bad cycles in your life. It's bound to happen to each and everyone on this planet.
Yeah.
But what keeps you going is passion and hope. So as long as these two things are intact, and these are the qualities that you impart to your children, I am sure they'll also keep going.
I mean, it could be a profession.
Absolutely.
It's the way you handle a situation.
Yes.
I mean, you're putting your hours, you're passionate about it, how you're actually making things work. That is something which, you impart to, as he says, the child at home, or it could be someone.
And they see it as a living example on their parents.
Yeah.
Too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I feel.
You guys have built a huge empire, sort of a legacy. Would you want your son to take this over, or?
No. See, he's already chosen a path of getting into the artificial intelligence space.
Okay.
And we feel artificial intelligence is also a very creative space because there are so many. It's again, you can look at it as tech, you can look at it as design, because you can craft artificial intelligence as a design tool. You can do it something. So it's not necessary
The functions are
exactly.
large, yeah.
So what probably we have not imparted into him necessarily is just getting into the architectural space. But what we have imparted into him is probably the quality of trying to do something new, trying to achieve something.
Yeah.
Yes, it's the mindset.
So it could be with respect to anything he chooses, The mindset is very important.
What's the next big thing for the firm?
See, we had...
What's like your 2050 dream?
Yes. So we had this, like when we were in Hubli.
Yeah.
And we were doing a lot of very nice projects. Sometimes, people used to get architects from Bangalore. And now we are in Bangalore, we see people getting architects from all over. Yeah. And today we are doing the projects which much beyond lot of people are doing. Not only us, but lot of people in our fraternity, I'll say, are doing phenomenal work which are of global standards. So our aim today is to set up a global office, be there. And
is there a fantasy destination place that you would want to?
No fantasy. It will be very, very practical.
Their fantasy will not work. It has to be practical.
So probably we start with Middle East, which is an accelerator, because Europe right now is in a recession.
True.
The US is also complicated. So I think, frankly speaking, even we went to Singapore and all that, they are also in slight slowdown. I think the most vibrant place on the planet today is Middle East. It's in the middle of everything.
And they really have a panache for these sort of things.
Absolutely.
You see such exciting things happening there.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
and it's only getting more beautiful.
Yes.
Exactly. Exactly.
Apart from the business, what's next for just as individuals? What's next for you guys? What are the new opportunities you want to explore?
See, it is like we coexist with opportunities.
Okay.
So it is something which is not next. It's like we have a passion for driving, we have a passion for food, passion for single malts, passion for all kinds of things, good music. Yeah. Yes, what we probably need a little more time probably, where we can dedicate ourselves to even more travel. So little more time is what we look for, where we want to experience more of these things.
Lovely. I hope you're taking some time off because you're an artist and you need that space.
And we're talking about doing my dream is that someday I will go for a couple of months to Nice, south of France, and just do art. So I want to do that someday, but let us see when that happens. But I want to keep that going as well. So
if there's one piece of advice that you want to give to someone who wants to start off their own firm, what would it be? in this climate, in this present climate.
Passion is something which you definitely need to have.
Yeah.
Be it any branch, any kind of industry or whatever. So you have to be passionate about what you want to do. Then that is the first thing that will get you going.
Yeah, the wheels will start turning.
Yeah. And then you have to be smart. Economics are a very integral part of success. So you cannot be just dreamy and be passionate. You have to have those numbers together. And
See, and there's another P apart from passion, which is very important, which I feel today people lack. In fact, it's more important than passion. It is called patience. So, it's so.
I'm probably like a victim of that.
I'm told.
So, it is like people want instant gratification. It's not available.
It doesn't happen.
You have to have patience. You have to have consistency. You have to slog it out. You have to compromise. Like I idolate Shah Rukh Khan for his words.
Yeah.
And he says compromise on all things. He says compromise on your sleep, compromise on your thing if you want to succeed. If you don't want to, forget it. You can do what you want.
Yeah.
But you want to do it, you want to succeed, you want to deliver the best, you want to be the best, you have to give 100% of all that you have got.
Yeah.
And you do it. And that's the only advice I think which we learned and we want to impart.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Lovely. Thank you for being on the podcast. I know you guys are a very busy couple.
Please,
And
it's a
take
pleasure.
some time off.
It's a pleasure
Yeah.
sitting across
Yes.
and exchanging these ideas.
And you're doing it beautifully.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And we hope to see you becoming one of the top real estate hosts across the world.
We hope so. I mean, if we have you back on, I think we'll probably have you back for the larger things you're doing next. Because you're saying you're going international. So maybe the next podcast could be about how you guys went international.
Yeah.
The
Definitely.
formula to international success. Lovely. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.